I thought you handled that call really well, because our job on shows like this is to educate people about why generational politics are an insufficient answer compared to, say, class politics. The generational stuff is very visceral. Like, we're really talking about our parents.
Right.
You know, like
Right.
when we talk about everybody's thinking about their parents. Like, oh yeah, I wish they'd get off my case. Uh, but class, the class analysis is much more apt and much deeper, but it requires like a level of understanding, like layers of language, and abstraction that just isn't there with the generational politics. So it's part of our job to sort of bring that to people. And then your other caller, he was talking about how it doesn't go well when he tries to reach out to people down south and try to like basically flip them to join, I don't know, DSA or something.
Right.
And that wraps it up in a bow too, because you asked at the opening of the show is like, can we de-dumbify,
Right.
and maybe there's a limit to where we can de-dumbify. The human brain is only so big, but really it's a multi-generational process. It's not going to happen overnight. You came on my show and we talked about persuasion versus power, and I feel like this is something that people misunderstand about persuasion. It starts like at the earliest ages, like when people get socialized and then they get educated, and then they get influence from their peers and television. There's building blocks, right? When it comes to changing how people think, it's a lifetime's work. So, it's good to have comrades on that, because
Yes.
there's no like you're not going to convince, who's that guy that keeps calling the majority report? It's like a libertarian did, and
Greg.
like you're
Oh,
never,
Greg.
yeah, like you can.
Greg's banned from this show, by the way. No, yeah,
No time.
He's preemptively banned.
Sorry, Greg,
It's
but-
just too tight. I'm sorry. And also, I don't believe in a free exchange of ideas. No, I'm just kidding.
Well,
Look, if Greg wants to call, he can call, but I will only talk to him in the Peter Thiel character.
Well, it's a lot easier to persuade. It's a lot harder to persuade someone like Greg, like you might never do it, than to engage in demographically driven, electoral politics, which is what the Democratic Party does.
Right.
And that's why they double down on, really brute, cynical identity politics. And that's really, I mean, what your callers are getting at is this basic question. Why does the Democratic Party operate the way it does? Because it's hard to persuade people, and it's easy to get them to rally around crude stuff like race and gender and generational politics than it is to sort of educate them about the deeper underlying dynamics that made this world. And
Right.
also, you have to understand those if you want to change it. So,
Right, and also you can't, and I know you make this point all the time yourself, that you can't deal with the fact that this is a structurally white supremacist, misogynist nation without the inequality and the class, and so that the fact that actually, and then when you go and even look at the sort of like the radical lineage in the United States, whether it's Malcolm X or Michael Harrington, it always ends at some type of socialist formulation. And that is why, if I can, really, be robust to this, I mean, that's why someone like Fred Hampton gets murdered, is because he's a direct challenge to the policing structure in Chicago. And then he's also, and even as an incredibly young guy, is articulating a, this synergy of radical cross-boundary politics that's also anchored not in artificially erasing differences either. And when that politics rears its head, that seriously threatens capital.